For as long as car companies have produced more than one brand of vehicle, it's been traditional for an automaker's premium or luxury brand to make use of the same platform and underpinnings as its more mainstream models. The underpinnings, essentially the mechanical engineering of the car's chassis, powertrain, brakes, and suspension systems, remain the same or similar. Sometimes even the physical main body panels remain the same, but the wheels, body trim, and most importantly, interior content vary depending on which car you're buying. And while you might think it's a new thing, it's not. The upmarket Riley Elf and Woolsey Hornet of the 1960s were actually just posher variants of the original and best Mini. Between the mid-60s and mid-90s, British firm Jaguar produced ultra-luxurious Daimler-badged variants of most of its cars. And of course, more recently, if you look at cars from Chevrolet, Buick, GMC and Cadillac, you'll see family resemblances between the various SUVs and pickups because they're essentially the same vehicles with different badges, a few tweaks, and different interiors. Which brings me to today and the official unveiling in Germany of the Audi Q4 e-tron SUV and Q4 e-tron Sportback, the two latest all-electric Audis to wear the e-tron nameplate. Following hot on the heels of the e-tron and e-tron Sportback a few years ago, then the e-tron GT earlier this year, Audi's pushing just as hard as its sister company Volkswagen, both of which are owned by Volkswagen AG, to transition its offerings to an all-electric future. Which is why the Audi Q4 e-tron, the most affordable all-electric Audi to get revealed to date, might seem a little familiar. That's because underneath it is essentially a Volkswagen ID.4. Built on the same MEB platform as the Volkswagen ID.4 and ID.3 electric cars, the Q4 e-tron and Q4 e-tron Sportback even share the battery pack and drivetrain choices. It's made on the same production line as the ID.4, and that means a lot of its specifications and dimensions are identical, or near as damn it, to the Volkswagen version. But being an Audi, the Q4 SUV and Q4 e-tron Sportback are built with a little more luxury in mind, and during the rather long, exhaustive press event held earlier today to herald these two cars' official launches, Audi went through great lengths to try and set both apart from their more commonly badged cousins. So today, I'm going to go over what we know about both vehicles and explain what's different between them and the ID.4. But first, a little side note, because I realised that I don't think I've ever explained the difference between Volkswagen the car brand and Volkswagen AG, its parent company. Volkswagen the car brand makes Volkswagen passenger cars, but its parent company, Volkswagen AG, owns and operates a whole slew of different vehicle brands, including Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen, Seat, Skoda, Cupra, Lamborghini, Ducati, Bentley, MAN, Scania, and others. And to confuse things further, all of the above are majority owned by the Piëch and Porsche families. To simplify things here, when I say Volkswagen on its own, I mean the car company, and when I say Volkswagen AG, I mean its parent company. With that out of the way, let's look at the Q4 e-tron, which is available as either a more traditional SUV-style rear end, or with a Sportback version, which offers a sportier stance and better range. It also has a slightly better coefficient of drag. The Q4 e-tron manages a CD of 0.28, while the Sportback variant drops that to 0.26, putting it on par with its bigger brother, the full-size Audi e-tron Sportback. Active lower air vents on the front of both vehicles help reduce drag as much as possible, but I should note, unlike the bigger e-tron, regular side view mirrors are the order of the day. Even in Europe, where it's legal, there's no option for side view cameras. That said, these drag coefficients aren't particularly worth getting excited about. They're better than the Nissan Leaf and Chevrolet Bolt EV, but nowhere near that of the Tesla Model 3, or in fact, the EV1. You might think here that the Q4 e-tron SUV has the best luggage carrying capabilities, but the reality here depends on what you consider luggage space. For example, the Q4 e-tron Sportback has better load carrying capabilities if we're talking just about the rear load bay space behind the seats. It manages 535 litres, 18.89 cubic feet, versus the Q4 e-tron SUV's 520 litres, or 18.36 cubic feet. But if you put the rear seats down, the Sportback's more noticeable sloped roofline means it can't carry as much as the SUV in this configuration, managing 1,460 litres, 51.55 cubic feet, to the SUV's 1,490 90 litres, 52.61 cubic feet. Which you choose might depend on those slightly different figures. Towing comes as standard in the EU with a total maximum towing limit of just 1,000 kilos, just over £2,200 for the lowest spec variants, with 1,200 kilos, £2,645 on the all-wheel drive variant. Like many cars sold around the world, however, don't expect identical towing capabilities in different markets. To my knowledge, Audi hasn't listed any towing capabilities for the North American market yet. That said, its sibling, the ID.4, can tow in North America, so I don't think it'd be a problem for the Audi Q4 e-tron to do the same. Let's look inside. Both versions of the Q4 e-tron are far more driver-focused than the ID.4. Instead of the floating iPad-esque display of their cousins, the Q4 e-tron's display is fully embedded into the dash, with a driver information cluster behind the steering wheel offering the same kind of rich, customizable display as the rest of the e-tron family. The center console is available in two different sizes, 10.1 inches and 11.6 inches, with the latter apparently coming later this year as an optional extra. Infotainment, interestingly, can also be spec'd at three different levels: MMI, MMI Plus and MMI Pro. The low-end MMI includes online traffic information with charging, station-aware route planning. And at the other end, the MMI Pro has Audi's Virtual Cockpit Plus system, wireless hotspot, augmented reality head-up display, Google Earth navigation, online speech entry, and internet radio. As you'd expect, the Q4 e-tron comes with a host of driver assistant features as standard, including Audi Presense Front Turn Assist and Collision Avoidance Assist. There's also Audi's Predictive Efficiency Assist, which uses GPS navigation and traffic light awareness to help coach drivers on when to lift off the throttle and coast to a stop. Predictive speed limiters also help save your license, and there are the usual warning systems that you'd come to expect to make sure that you don't drive tired. Interestingly though, Adaptive Cruise Control and Adaptive Cruise Assist, which is what Audi calls its Lane Keep Assist, is an optional extra, something that actually surprises me. And of course, like many higher-end models, around view cameras can now also be spec'd, if you'd like them and you're willing to pay. It's some of this tech, namely the Predicted Efficiency Assist, that you won't find in the ID.4, as well as some of the more advanced connected car features. And with user-adjustable regenerative braking accessible through paddles on the steering wheel, the Audi Q4 e-tron has a higher standard level of onboard tech, benefiting a higher-priced, more premium-feeling car. So let's finish by talking about specs of the drivetrain, which, as I'm sure you'll realise, share their heritage with the ID.4. That doesn't mean the car hasn't been tweaked for speed, and Audi's handling, suspension and accelerator throttle responses have all been tweaked when compared to the ID.4, as has the electronically assisted steering. But I'm guessing they're similar enough to give similar enough feeling driving experiences, albeit, I expect, more sporty with the Audi. At the entry-level end, there's the Audi Q4 35 e-tron, available in both SUV and Sportback variant, which comes with a 52 kWh usable, 55 kWh nominal battery pack paired with a 125 kW rear-wheel drive motor. It can do the standard stoplight sprint in 9 seconds, and the Q4 SUV offers 341 km, 211 miles of range per charge, while the e-tron Sportback offers 349 km, 216 miles per charge. However, both of those figures are on the overly optimistic WLTP test standard. At the more expensive end of the Q4 e-tron family, you have the Q4 50 e-tron Quattro, which, as the name suggests, has all-wheel drive from twin electric motors, one for each axle. It features a total power output of 220 kilowatts, reaching the stoplight sprint in 6.2 seconds. Its 77 kWh usable, 82 kWh nominal battery pack is the same as the one found in the Q4 40 e-tron, which, because it's less performance-oriented 150 kilowatt rear-wheel drivetrain, means it has an estimated range of 520 kilometers, 323 miles on the WLTP test cycle. This says, just like Tesla and most other high-performance brands, that the longest-legged variant isn't the quickest. So if you're opting to order one, you should probably bear that in mind. Also interesting is the fact that in North America, the entry-level Q4 35 e-tron isn't available, presumably because Audi of North America believes it wouldn't sell. However, the prices for the two entry-level variants in both markets are fairly similar. In North America, where prices are traditionally given without tax and before incentives, Audi is listing the Audi Q4 40 e-tron as starting from $45,000. In Germany, the shorter-range Audi Q4 35 e-tron is listed at €41,900, including taxes, but before incentives. That's closer to $50,202, but remember that price includes a mandatory VAT at 19%. If we take that into consideration, the actual pre-VAT price is close to the equivalent of $42,186 at the current exchange rate. Would I buy one? As usual, I'm going to wait until I get behind the wheel to pass judgment, but we are scheduled to spend a week with the ID.4, the Q4 e-tron's less snobbish sibling, in about a week or two, which of course leads me to ask you guys what you want us to test. The Mustang Mach-E went back today, so keep your eyes peeled for a review in about a week's time, but we always want to know what you want us to test in the next car we'll be driving. Now that's it for today. As always, thanks to the folks on my right for being our $15 to $49 a month Patreon supporters. Special thanks to our $50 a month Patreons, Regine Fellows, Gordon C., Paul Conway, Laura Sanborn, Anthony Coates, Denny Hyde, Sean Ueda, Anonymous Freak, and Tesla in the Gong, and our deepest gratitude to our $100 a month Patreon supporters, John Lyons, Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, JP Fagerback, Will Graylin, and Ian. If you would like to join the ranks of wonderful supporters, you'll find links below to Patreon, Bitcoin, and Ko-fi. You can chat with the team and TE fans over at Discord, and if you'd like to buy some TE swag, just point yourself over to our Redbubble store. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep evolving!